Better Call Saul has reached the end of the road. But for me, the journey over these last four episodes has been rocky and disappointing. And I feel though that they did construct a good ending. How they wanted to tie up the character could have worked. The problem is though is that I don't feel that that conclusion was earned in what we had seen in the three preceding episodes within the Gene timeline. When Better Call Saul first started, I recognized at the time that there was one huge challenge that the creators would face at the end of the series, and that was how they were going to tie together three very distinct timelines. The prequel phase, where Jimmy evolves into Saul, the Breaking Bad one, which the overwhelming majority of the audience had already seen, and then the final one, after Saul escaped Albuquerque and took on the new identity of Gene in Nebraska. And that's where the problem is. Better Call Saul works for me from season 1 all the way through to episode 9 this season. And it was at that point, following the breakup of Jimmy and Kim, that I felt they lost their way. Scene right after that, we have Saul in the Breaking Bad timeline, prior to him meeting Walter, of course, but he was full-fledged Saul at that stage. We're seeing what we saw in Breaking Bad. And they ended the episode there. And when we came back to begin those final four, the fatal four, that led, I feel, to the fall of Saul, we started a succession of 4 black and white episodes, 3 of which are focused on Saul in Nebraska and setting up this scam with the cab driver. And all of that I felt was unneeded. He hasn't changed from what he was in the Breaking Bad universe. The case could even be made that he's a bit worse. He threatened to strangle a woman with a phone cord. And so what they're presenting to us is a character that certainly hasn't evolved and arguably could be even worse. So why did we need that? What was the point of that? Now, if it was leading to the sort of conclusion where Saul were to die, be unreformed, that arc is there. We're showing it. But when we go into the finale and we have this about face, it just does not fit. I mean, even in the last episode, he's conning the prosecutors to get a shorter sentence. And then everything changes. And the confession, he's not only confessing to what he did with Walter, but he's even confessing about Chuck out of nowhere. It just wasn't a natural character progression. We don't see that character evolve to that point. Or we don't even see a really significant life event that would do that. So that was my problem with Better Call Saul. It was a disappointing ending. And they came up short. And I don't know why exactly. It's baffling. I don't know if they just went too far down the rabbit hole of some sort of abstract creativity. I mean, the show itself was always a slow burn. And it wasn't for everyone. But I enjoyed that portion of it. Most Breaking Bad fans didn't. The Breaking Bad finale, final episode of it, over 10 million viewers. For Better Call Saul, the premiere in season 1 was 6.8. And now for the final season, right towards the end here, the second half, they were only averaging about 1.3 million per episode. So again, it wasn't, and this isn't meant as a criticism for Saul. I thought it was a well-written show until the end. I thought it was excellent, but it wasn't for everyone. And that factor of it being that slower burn bothered me even more for the end, because everything used to be so meticulous. You could see it all mapped out. Look at what they did with Gus episodes before planting the gun in the lab. And then we get back to that. We knew we were going to get to it at some point with Lalo. Even in that episode where Gus shoots Lalo, they give you one more glimpse of the gun. They're covering all their bases. And I don't feel that they did here, because it became too convoluted between those timelines. They didn't bridge it like they needed to. Actually, I think that if they had jumped straight from the breakup, had some sort of segue, and then we went to him getting caught, it would have made a lot more sense, at least in the story, than just seeing him at such a period so close to his capture being irredeemable. At least leave it to our imagination a little bit of what's going on in his head after that. Or we could have used some of the flashbacks, like in the safe house with Walter. That could have been used to show some of his regrets or how his mind was changing, so that we could lead up to that final point where Jimmy in the courtroom decides to confess to all of this. That would have worked great. But that's not the road that they chose. Again, I enjoyed the series through episode 9. I know a lot of people still did like it, and that's great. We all have different tastes. This didn't work for me, though. And my disappointment is in the fact, too, that I had a great deal of confidence in Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould to really stick the landing here. And for me, they didn't. But that's it on Better Call Saul. As I said in my first video, this channel is mainly, at the outset at least, dedicated to covering House of the Dragon, George R. R. Martin's works, and looking back a little bit on Game of Thrones. But I felt I needed to comment on this because it was a series that I loved. It just ended. Has a lot of mixed feelings about it. It doesn't ruin the great episodes for me, but it certainly doesn't rank up there now for me with Breaking Bad. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.